Good morning and happy Friday, or perhaps it's afternoon or evening, depending upon where you are in the globe. First, I would like to, as usual, acknowledge my members. Once that is taken off pause, and my mods, and also my subscribers, and those that come by from time to time to listen in. This is going to be brief, at least that is my intent, and staying on topic, walking on eggshells. I have always said, and will stick to not wanting or intending to, number one, hurt any feelings or intentionally offend anyone. And in doing that, I have to be careful and protect my feelings as well. That being said, I have always been a stickler and also will continue to make my own decisions based upon what I observe and experience on a personal note. Never to allow anyone else's opinions nor thoughts to sway my decisions. Now, these last few months, if you have been consistent in listening to several content creators, perhaps from several different sectors, speak on many things, but virtually round it down to an umbrella of just maybe a few. I've seen alignments, and then I've seen dissension. And again, I'm going to handle this as gingerly as possible. Many people, myself included, and because this is my platform and I'm hosting this live, I'm going to start with my feelings. And that is, I have experienced and continue to experience a life-threatening event, flashbacks, avoidance of external reminders, altered states of anxiety, and changes in mood and thinking. All of those are elements of trauma and dealing with such. Many of us in many age groups, and it is not gender specific, deal with that on a daily. And in doing so, we all handle it differently. We cannot speak on how others deal with certain situations. But at the same time, in my opinion, if something does not add up right, and as I've said on several occasions, I am not a mathematician. I am a writer and an analyst. And while quiet for the most part in demeanor, when I know that something is being said or done, I'm going to speak upon it. I will never be rude, at least is my intentions to not be rude, but clear and assertive, because I find that when I am not, people may intentionally or unintentionally pass it aside. And unfortunately, I feel as though for the past couple of months, there has been a paradigm shift. But unfortunately, the wrong people, and again, this is my opinion, maybe are not the ones that should be looked at or dissected or magnified. Maybe it's people that are closer in. Now, again, I've said I am the type, and I will always be that type who will make my own decisions based upon my own personal observations and experiences. And based upon those, despite everything that has been said, everything that has been placed on a blueprint, if you will, evidence, fact finding to show certain behaviors has been done. Now, we are all human, and we've heard the catchphrase sides or who we prefer or what we prefer to listen to or whom we prefer to listen to. And with that, there are occasions where some, in my opinion, can and have been heavily influenced. That happens to and for many of us. Also, my opinion, to be prudent and responsible, but more so fair. I think it would be best, and this has been proven in the past, to have a conversation with that individual, if possible. But unfortunately, sometimes in trying to connect with certain individuals, those efforts are blocked. Now, keep in mind, as I said, maybe just a few short moments earlier, I analyze and I watch when I do have time. And if I'm not able to see something at that very time, when I do have downtime, I will go back and review. And there have been instances, there have been actions taken right in front of me. And while it appeared the incident tried to be covered, I already caught it, but kept it. And kept it for a bit, as I have many things, to not upset anyone or to have them experience any type of flashbacks or upsetting behaviors or things that'll make them uncomfortable. Because just like myself, I don't want to feel those same elements. So when I hear lupus almost every day, if it's not coming from my pulmonologist, and it's used to speak about behaviors of others who may be using it in a disparaging way. Yet you don't recognize it, and efforts to reach out are blocked. And once they do go through, the message, again, to me, is not quite clear. So that's what I want to speak on. If, and we all have our wishes for respect, and there are those that have platforms that specifically request not to promote other channels or to speak off topic. Not all platforms run like that, but everyone has a choice and a right to run their platforms in the manner in which they choose to do so. And with that knowledge, people should respect that. And it doesn't matter if you have 1 million subscribers or followers, or just one. That respect should be extended to everyone. And I've mentioned this in the past. If you are not going to support lupus and you continue to refer to the individual, but yet not extend to the individual, then respectfully, please don't, because just as others may experience a life-threatening event, internal reminders of a traumatic event, avoidance of external reminders, altered states of anxiety, changes in mood or thinking, I too could experience that. I have listened and observed and dealt with harassment, threats, online stalking, even after all of the support that I've given. And despite all of that, I'm going to continue my support because I don't just jump ship. But let me be clear. And just as many people have said, it doesn't matter who you are or who you may be or how you may be perceived by others. I demand the same respect. I've watched, and I'm not going to say lies because that is a strong and harsh word, but I have watched the mincing of words, the wordplay, if you will, of certain individuals. Yet the goalpost is moved for others, or the chains aren't moved at all. And as I ponder about it, it makes me question. It makes me question many things that I'm not going to go into. But I think I've learned enough to see where there are motives for, and again, this is cliche, but it's the truth, views, clicks, and likes. As much as you keep the negativity and drama up, some people will gravitate towards it. But in contrast, some people are actually tired of it. I, for one, and this is just me, I am not for all of the whooping and hollering and screaming. And yes, there are times I will go outside of myself when I am angry and upset. But it's because there is a viable reason for me to be angry and upset. I am not going to cherry pick and find a reason to go at anyone. Others may do that. And again, I am not here to judge what others do to get what it is they seek. But I am going to say, as I have before, if you want to be treated fairly and people respect you, extend the same. I've observed a selective acknowledgement. I guess that's the best way to put it. And when asked questions, either no answer or an answer that is not 100% truthful. We all have snapshots. And I'm not going to use the catchphrase of anyone else. But just as others have a wealth of knowledge in certain areas, I do as well. And as I sit back, because they say hindsight is 2020, and I also put pieces together. There seems to be, in my opinion, one or two, maybe a few common denominators. I have always said, and will continue to say, I am not a part of a group, a cult, an organization, a sorority, or anything of that nature. I am my own individual, and I stand on what I believe is to be right. Always have, always will. And again, 25 minutes in, nobody will ever sway my decisions on anything. What I choose is based on my own personal experience and observations. And there are many that have made statements that honestly have been harsh, but as I piece everything together, and when I say piece everything together, I'm speaking about my personal experience. If you eliminate the harshness, the statements have truth to them. I do not ever want to cause problems or drama, and I'm not, to any panels or chats. And if I see that or feel that, I will politely and quietly leave because I do not want it on my platform. So if I feel that way, I would not allow that to someone else's. But again, if I'm in a chat or a venue, that's how I'll coin this, a venue, and I hear such and such is talking about lupus, and you know that I'm there, out of respect, why not offer the link for me to speak on my behalf? I already know what lupus is. I've had it for 30 years. We had a super panel, and that wasn't smooth, to be honest. With the majority, yes, but it was almost like pulling teeth to get it all together. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm extremely grateful, but I should not have had to go through the measures to get that together. In my opinion. And there are those that were extremely and have been extremely supportive and continue to support, while others, or maybe a couple to be specific, may say, what's that link again? And after 2 or 3 times of giving the link, and you still can't share it, that's being disingenuous. And again, it all boils down to preferences. And that's fine. But don't wonder or ask in the future, how come you haven't responded? Because we've already discussed this. We are all adults. And again, I will always believe communication is key, but not through a middleman. We've all played the game in school about whispering a secret in the ear. And once it goes all the way around the classroom, it never comes back the way it started off. And that's the problem with middle people when it becomes an issue that could cause, or maybe not, because some people clearly don't care. Some people, and not all, will put up a facade to tug on the heartstrings or to get at another individual. But again, as I said several months ago, out of respect, please do not use my condition or reference about me, even though it may not be my name. But most people know by now. If you're not going to extend a platform to me to speak on my behalf in reference to that, if you want to be fair, not seeing others and heard others called out for questionable behavior. Mine is not, has not, and still will not be. Now, quite possibly, that may not be in your ear. You may be hearing something completely different. And even with things brought to the forefront, it's like choosing a number at the MVA. Behaviors. Behaviors. Hooping and hollering and disrespect. For some, it's not cool, but for others, it's a green light, or maybe accepted and encouraged. I could be wrong. Again, it's just my opinion. And yes, everyone has to pay their dues. And there are some that get dragged just for being kind-hearted and opening up doors for others. But keep in mind, sometimes when you open doors up to people who are not worthy, they'll shut them in your face. But the people who are actually doing work and has tried to present lucrative open doors, that's been blocked. And again, reasons that don't make sense or perhaps excuses. Let me be clear. I am perfectly happy with the position I am in. I do not want anyone else's position if that's ever been in anyone's mind. Because as I've said, rendering support has brought me unwanted and unsolicited threats and harassment, and also online stalking. Nobody is a lone victim, if you will, or the recipient of a wrong. There are several. And none should be treated any different. I may not understand the logistics and analytics and all of those other things. And right now, that is not what is important to me. What is important to me is getting and staying healthy and having a genuine support system. I've had many people reach out, and they have been so sincere in their actions and their words because they've been consistent. But you cannot convince me, and you will never convince me that if you understand my condition, something or a subject that is not life-threatening is more worthy of a few moments with a condition that is life-threatening. That you already know about, and many know about. So again, critical thinking skills, analytics, and analyzing. Everybody can't be wrong. And maybe I shouldn't say everybody, but the majority of people can't be wrong. And even the most intelligent people may have a gaffe, if you will. And that's G as in George, A, F as in Frank, F as in Frank, E as in Edward, or a faux pas, F as in Frank, A as in apple, U as in umbrella, X as in Xerox, P as in Paul, A as in apple, S as in Sam. Faux pas, an error, a mistake that they may make that they think is not caught. As I've said before, my mama told me there's always going to be somebody prettier, somebody more talented, and somebody smarter. And there's always going to be somebody watching and observing. So no matter how smart or ahead of the game some people may think that they are, rest assured there are others that are indeed 10 steps ahead of you. I am not going to be disrespectful, and I have not been disrespectful, just observant. Even with all of the ugly things that have been said and continue to be said. Thank you. Night, night. Pew, pew, pew. I just lost my train of thought. But as I was saying, there's always going to be someone 10, maybe 15 steps ahead of you. I am not here for the mess. Never have been. Never will be. But if one truly stands on the side of right, I have to speak my truth. No, I don't like the dissension that has happened. I don't even know the cause and why it seems like it has turned into a snowball effect. But as some have said and have shown, there are some common denominators there. Some may agree, some may not. I can only go by my own personal experiences and observations. And when I think back to when I first started, the people who used to come over often would make their comments and I ignored them. And again, be clear to those individuals as well. My decision, parenthesis, decisions are based on my personal observations. Never swayed by what someone may have said And especially what I heard, because I hear a lot of things and it means nothing to me. Absolutely nothing. There is something called a top-down analysis. And if you sit down and take the time, if you have the time to do it, and some actually have drawn up a blueprint, if you're open-minded, and they've shown you direct examples. I've seen some myself, and some again, including myself, walk on eggshells to not ruin the plate. Because honestly, there are pieces of shells everywhere. And I do not want to be that waiter or waitress carrying that plate, trip, have it fall, and then the entire thing is broken. That is not what I'm about. There are a lot of people that have been and probably will be targeted or accused of playing both sides. That's happened to me, which is totally untrue. And if people take the time to listen to things that I've said in the past and actual facts that are on my community wall, they will see nobody is going to agree with everything any one person says or does. And that includes me as well. That's what being an individual is about. But you can't sit there and tell me or make me believe that there is not any influence, especially when you want to use the weight system. And I guarantee if I were to put up a poll and ask the question, about the importance of a few minutes of truth to someone that may be growing or someone with a serious illness that you speak of often, if you're using the point scale, as some people allude to. I've seen many come and many go in about a year. I've seen some being dragged, being called names, scammer. And to be honest, I've had questions. Absolutely. I would be what you consider a liar if I would sit here this morning or this night, depending upon where you were or where you are, rather, on the globe and say that I don't have questions. But from my observance, allegations are allegations until proven. And this individual had stood 10 toes down. And as I've said before, even in my own walk, you never know when you may get that Boaz blessing. And again, that's Boaz. When favor may become onto you. Some people may go through seasons. Seasons can last, as we all know, months, maybe years. And that goes for lay people, average, plain Jane or Joe, or public figures. They may go through slumps. Nobody is exempt through that. But it's consistency. Hey, Miss Shirley, I'm fine. No, I'm not sad at all. I'm just tired. But when I have things that are heavy on my mind, while they're still fresh, I like to speak about them. And I'm speaking about it's just people basically. And I'm not going to say games because it may not be games, but there are, unfortunately, agendas and motives that some may not see, some may not want to see because they truly like people. And I like people. I like a lot of people. Despite of the things I know that people have said, they may not know that I know. Actually, I know some don't know that I know. There are people with motives, ill intent. There are people that cover up things. And some people are extremely, extremely good with it. But others catch it. Others that you might be surprised. But again, to not offend anyone or to stir an ongoing pot. That is what I will not do. I have not and will not mention any names. I don't need to. I don't need to. All I'm saying and expressing is if you want Miss Shirley says people are fickle. Some may be. And yes, it's all about the Benjamins. Perhaps monetary Benjamins or intangible Benjamins. But that is not what I seek. Because I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If I could have anything in this world, it would not be Benjamin. It would be at least 50% of my breathing back to normal. I'm still able to do what I've been doing, but it takes more out of me. And I do not use that as a crutch. And let me be clear, I'm not saying that anyone uses anything as a crutch. But at the same time, if you're going to use my condition and refer to me, and again, not by name, because that isn't needed anymore. Most people, not all, but most by now, know when that name or the name lupus comes out, know what's in reference to, and the individual that has used it in one of the most disparaging, ugly ways. And unfortunately, others have gotten on the bandwagon to do the same thing. But yet, that same individual doesn't extend or won't extend. I'm not sure if anyone realizes how that may look to others on the outside. Actually, it has been brought up in the past. And again, we have free will to do and say and support whatever it is we choose. But if you're going to bring it up to get at someone, allegedly, if that is the reason why it's brought up, then why not, again, extend your platform? Or if I offer mine for 5 or 10 minutes, accept it as you have others who have been totally disrespectful and plotting. It doesn't add up. It adds up to me because, as I've said, and as others, and again, I'm not into dropping names. I don't need to. Have shown people can influence others. But I caution you to use your third eye on everybody, myself included. Even though I've proven myself in many, many ways, known and unknown. That was shown earlier this week. At the end of the day, you are in charge of the bed you make. And even though people may seem to have your best intentions, they could be, and again, this is just my opinion, the beginning of a downfall that you may not be able to come up from. Unlike others, I don't jump ship or pop up on another panel of a quote unquote detractor. That is not me. I was not brought up that way. And I don't live my life like that. And I honestly believe because I don't, I was extended years. They've been rough 4 years, but I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take each day. Day after day, arguing or having to defend yourself has to be exhausting. There's no way you can continue to move forward if you have to continue to do that. And you really don't. But we have choices. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to put in a request, wait for a response. And even though I know it's sugar, honey, iced tea, I'll listen to it. And have to accept it. But it doesn't make it right. Especially if you have set your home, and I mean your platform, for certain rules to be followed that should be respected on others. And if people don't like to be talked about or a condition, especially if you're not going to give them their voice, then respectfully, you shouldn't do the same. Because my end game is inevitable. Not yours to my knowledge, or many. Some, because I don't know everybody. I don't know anybody personally. but because this is my broadcast and platform, I'm speaking about me right now. So I hope and pray that I don't get up to, and that is never guaranteed, to a title that was calling me out, because we already know, well, most people know, the author of titles. Again, I am not about the backwards and forth. I don't have the strength for it. And again, I don't want my anxiety to be heightened or flashbacks. And I'm not being facetious, because lupus causes that as well. Everybody has things that can upset them. Not just one person. Everybody has a voice. Absolutely, Miss Shirley. It's training. Oh my God, is it? And what's your next comment? It's about how we're raised. My grandparents were sharecroppers. Oh my goodness. Then maybe that's why you have the spirit that you do, Miss Shirley. A lot of people, as I said in a live called Masquerade, wear masks for different reasons. To maybe hide pain, shame, humiliation, or motives. We can be anybody we choose to be behind technology. But in my beliefs, the Creator sees through it all. And certain individuals can see through it all. And I am not taking away nor minimizing anybody's trauma or what they have experienced or what they may continue to experience, because it is no joke. Some people have gone through a lot of things and continue to, just because of support. Yet, unfortunately, not all of those that have gone through or are going through things have that voice. Coincidence? Selective? I don't believe in coincidences. Never have, never will. When requests have been made to not stir certain pots or use certain things, they've been honored. Extend the same courtesy. And that goes for anybody, not just to one. I'm speaking right now, collective. respect people's platforms. I've seen so much disrespect. And as I've said, when I've been on platforms, well, not platforms, but well, I guess it is a platform in a way, but in a chat, and somebody wants to go back and forth with me, I'll say what I need to say and politely leave, because you should never take away the topic of the host by issues in a chat. I think it's very disrespectful. And when I see that happening, I leave, because I don't want that stain on that individual. And I'll never do that. It happened earlier today. I said what I needed to say, and I left. I don't like that. But I also don't like to hear that same talking point. My condition and the reference to me, even though, and be clear, not by name, but platform and not extended or accepted. Yet, that's not always the case. With perhaps others. I've always said, I come in peace. I'm going to speak my mind, absolutely, but it's going to be with respect. But again, extend the same respect. And at the same time, be cognizant. Be cognizant. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. And as much as other people had dirt thrown, and you go back and listen, as a critical thinker, where I didn't pay attention at one time, my third eye is open. And now I question certain allegations. I'm not going to put a little time into it, because it's no benefit to me. Again, my focus is to get and stay healthy, and to seek the justice of a wrong that was done to me. And lastly, respectfully ask, if you are not going to genuinely support or feel as though you're compelled to do so, don't speak about it unless it's something, or it has to do with the people that you know. And we know that the people you know isn't who that individual who's used lupus directly related to me So the same way you've requested respect, that's all I ask for. Obviously, everything else either has been blocked, in my opinion, or there are reasons beyond my knowledge. But everything always comes to the light, especially people. We've seen that within a year. And as Shirley says, some people can't put themselves in other people's shoes. I can because I know it could have been me. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Miss Shirley says, don't give up. What goes around comes back around to you. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is why I've always said, I can laugh with you, joke with you, but my style of delivery, if you go back and pick out a few minutes from a few videos, I've been consistent. I've gone off on several, but they've always been directed towards one or two people. You don't hear me hollering and fussing every day. Yes, that gets the views and what do you call those things? Super chats and all that other stuff. And even before my stuff was put on pause, I was talking about world events and things for empowerment. Seems like people don't really want to listen to that. Some people do now, thanks to a certain individual. And I'm not going to bring his name up because he has enough on his plate as is for doing that. But he knows who he is. And I will always thank him behind the scenes. Because again, I don't like to bring negativity or more harassment or hate to anyone. Because no matter how strong you are, man or woman, it has to be draining having to always hear someone try to tear you down, especially when you've gone already through so much. It isn't fair. And then to target innocent people, that is something I definitely don't agree with. And unfortunately, because of associations, your brand could get messed up. Mine could. I deliver to retail. Somebody could easily, out of spite, because of my associations, would call up and bring up something bogus, just like I've had to go through with people referring to my fundraiser as being a scam, when it is absolutely 100% not a scam. But because of associations and support, that's what people have done. And for those that have worked to build a brand and to get someone to afford you that opportunity and to have someone just for spite attempt to try to ruin that, to me, and I am only speaking for me, it's totally wrong. What I speak on is about one or two people. But you see how that can spiral and hurt others. And as that person I said earlier this week, and I agree with that 98%. Yes, you go after that person. But sometimes when you go after that person who has threatened your livelihood and your household, the way that person decides to go against that individual is an individual decision. Now, again, I don't believe in going after children or spouses. That's just me. That's just me. Others think differently. And it may be needed in that person's mind, or maybe a lot of others. But for me, there are other ways, which includes the legal route, where you have documentation and timelines. And in my field, where you build a tree that shows the connections, that's where digital footprints come in. I've spoken about this several times. So photographs and those type of media things, those are all well and good, but building trees that show the connections and a timeline, not just for a month or two, but consistent. And that's what people look at and analyze. There are a lot of records, sometimes interceptions, and there's a lot. There's a lot. And yes, Homeland Security is a part of it. And that's something I can speak on because that's where and who sponsored my training. So the bottom line, or the message in this message, is be fair. And the old cliche, do on to others. Oh, thank you, Miss Shirley. I've got some strength left, not a whole lot, but got it from my mama. But thank you. And you do the same. Miss Shirley says, Black people, we need to do better. Absolutely. Unfortunately, there are some, not all, that may feel like you're trying to take some of their shine No, I work behind the scenes. I'm a field worker, so to speak. No, I don't want, trust me, I don't want that type of attention. Do I want my truth to be heard? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I don't need a half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour for that. And it's for a legitimate, very serious cause. Nothing more, nothing less. Miss Shirley says, you know, my grandmother said, if you big dig, if you dig ditches, be careful you don't fall in it yourself. And I've had 6 months to tend to my own business and 6 months to leave other people alone. That is very profound and poignant. And to be fair, I can understand the need to get to the bottom of things. Who wouldn't? Anytime you have any type of threats, like I said, to you personally, to your family, to your brand, to your livelihood, to your growth, you have absolutely every right to question and to be cautious of who you allow to be close to you. That's something everyone should adopt. But at the same time, some people, unfortunately, have not been, in my opinion, a very good judge of character. And things have not worked quite the way I think they could have. And maybe in the future they will. I'm speaking right now for the now. They need to clean up these tube streets. They need to clean up social media, period, including, as I've spoken about before, a legislation, because there are still people that do not understand totally freedom of speech. Yes, you have the right to your opinion, but there are certain things that are not covered under that. And again, I'm not holding class this time of morning. You can Google everything else. You can Google that. There are 3 elements that are not covered by the government when it comes to freedom of speech. And again, we've got to keep in mind the FCC, which is the Federal Communications Commission. That's why when you have shows on TV, it's either delayed so they can bleep out certain things. YouTube is getting a little bit better with it, where certain words, if they're the actual obscenity or if it's a racial epithet, they may change it so the actual words are not shown. They're getting really, they're tightening up on that. But some of the other content, the egregious content, no. And again, it depends on who actually may get your complaint, if anything is ever done. Because quite honestly, there are things that people have said to me that remained up So I had no choice but to go outside YouTube. And who has time to continue to do that? And then the stress that comes along with that. Certain things should be circumvented where it won't even be allowed. And I am not speaking about censorship. So let me be clear with that. Absolutely not. But you know, at least I believe you should know what shouldn't be on any type of airwaves, because you don't know who's listening and you don't know who is easily influenced. And that's the problem. That is the core of the problem. You don't know who might be easily influenced. There are people suffering every day with violence that doesn't hit the news or the newspaper. That's a huge disparity. That's something that should be discussed. But no, we're arguing backwards and forth, talking about people's appearances or their upbringing, or just belittling people, basically tearing each other down day in and day out. Not all. I'm not speaking about all, but many. Jealousy is a serious problem for Blacks. Agreed. I think it is cultural too, well, in some cultures. But yes, that's a problem. And it doesn't even, the funny thing, in my opinion, it may not always be money or prestige. It could be an opportunity. It could be something as small as a photo op. Who knows? I mean, it's just, to me, it's childish. But again, we're human. If we see someone that is achieving and they are putting in the work, to me, that should be inspiration and motivation, not instant hate. And we see that now. People that have gone through being dragged for years, being blessed, and now trying to put in narratives. And I hate that word. I shouldn't say hate, but I loathe that word. And cause or potentially try or attempt to cause friction. And I'm sure they're aware of it. But again, that's that crabs in a barrel mentality. You should want to see others achieve. And that should motivate and inspire you. Now, again, I do not agree with bashing women. But We shouldn't be bashing one another, period. But no, bashing women, you're not going to see me agree with that. You're not going to see me donate to that. I will support the channel or a person if they say something I agree with. But no, and that goes both ways. And people have to remember, you don't know what goes on behind the scenes all the time, what support you may be getting or have given, even if it's a word of encouragement. Everything isn't known. Everything shouldn't be known. Everything isn't a scam. Everything isn't a clout chase. Everything isn't a motive. But at the same time, there are some that absolutely are everything I just mentioned. You just have to watch behavior and watch the consistency. People's stances on certain topics or issues, their perspectives may change depending upon who delivers it. Some may not. It depends. And again, my decisions will never be swayed by the majority of the public social media ruling. No, never. It's by my personal observations and behavior exhibited towards me. And even with that, I'm not going to go out and bash anyone. For what? You can never and should never believe you can change anybody's mind. If a person has made their mind up, and again, in my opinion, that should be done after you communicate with the person, not through a middle man, if you will, because that's how things really could get shisty and messed up. Because through text, email, via another individual, you don't know, or you may not receive it the way in which it's meant to be received, nor is the response. That's why, in my opinion, communication, that personal communication, should be afforded depending upon that individual and what they say they stand on. But again, that's just my personal opinion. And Shirley says, all you have to do is be you, and they jealous. You just have a good personality, and they're jealous about that. Good personality usually stays consistent and fall off. And yes, I can be assertive. I'm not going to say aggressive, but I'm going to say strongly assertive, especially if I'm passionate about something, and especially when I know good and darn well What you're telling me is a bunch of you know what, because I've seen you basically in my face do something for someone else. But your claim to me has been something different. So it's a lot of things, but again, it is well. It is well. Other people notice eventually, maybe, maybe that third eye will be open, maybe not. Hopefully it won't be too late. But as I've said, several people can't and are not wrong, especially people that are on the outside and have absolutely nothing to gain, who are not even in your circle. That says to me a lot. That speaks volumes. But again, in life, it doesn't matter the age. You live and learn. We crash and we burn. Sometimes we may really need to sit down and think about behavior as a whole when we speak about behavior. Absolutely, women should not be bashed at all. But there's people that do it. Women should not jump in a man's face either. And this is something that my mom taught me as a little one. She said, "Gal, don't jump in these men's faces." Some of them have been taught not to put their hands on women, and there are others that believe in, if you're big and bad enough to jump up in my face, you might catch some hands. And unfortunately, there are women who have. And unfortunately and sadly, there are some that are no longer here to even speak about it. So no, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with either. Does it happen? Yes. Have I done it? Absolutely. Self-defense? Yeah. And have I cursed people out? Absolutely. Absolutely. I've calmed down, but it's still there. I get angry. I'm human. I have a lot to deal with, so I don't need additional stressors, especially people who are intentionally causing it. And I don't want to intentionally cause that same stress on anyone else. So that is why I titled this Walking on Eggshells, because I do not want to be offensive, but at the same time, it's a request, it's a statement to let those know that your actions / inactions cause remembrance of a life-threatening event, internal reminders of a traumatic event, avoidance of external reminders, altered states of anxiety, and changes in moods and or thinking. Same things that others talk about that they experience. There are others out there that experience the same thing on a daily basis. So be fair and understand that there are many. Some of them may suffer in silence. We don't know. But if you're going to be fair and down the middle, please keep that in mind. And if someone says something to you or calls you on something, don't be so quick to say those things are occurring. Because just like they are occurring for you, if a person is bringing something to your attention, it's because the same thing that is bringing those elements to you, the person who's bringing it to you, they're experiencing those elements. So it works both ways. Not just the recipient, but the sender. And they're feeling that way because of a reason. So again, you have to be fair if you truly stand on the side of right. Though you're smart, keep doing what you're doing, never give up. I have my moments. Thank you. And no, I'm not going to give up. I've come too far now. Too far now. But I've also learned, unfortunately, there are people who will always, unfortunately, get a reprieve, if you will. But at the end of the day, are they truly, truly happy? Knowing that that reprieve may cause someone hurt, or those same feelings where others feel like they have to walk on eggshells to not break a plate that's already broken and needs not to be totally broken beyond repair. That is not what I want nor seek. Yes, we are adults now and should act accordingly. But sometimes power or perceived power, ego and pride can muddy up the waters where you can't really see. Well, some can't really see. But you have to let that gift of discernment take over. And who I serve, and this is just my opinion, one I serve, how you walk and talk should align. And remember, not all those, behind that pulpit and Those that know scripture like the back of their hand are clean. Absolutely not. Some of those you have to watch more than those who haven't even been inside of a church. I'm just saying, if you really speak on certain words, I just believe your behavior should show. And again, I'm learning that there are those that actually have characters. And the way they act is just a show. Some people, however, it's not a show. So we have to keep that in mind as well. Prayerfully, things will work out the way it's supposed to. Who knows? Who knows? But hopefully my message will be received with a clear understanding and with the knowledge it is not meant, nor was it meant to be disrespectful. It came out of respect and in the hopes that you understand. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. We'll see in the coming days. But the one, again, of whom I believe in, sees in real time, right now. So with that, that's my message. Walking on eggshells. I will always support those that I've supported in the beginning. But will also demand that same respect. It's fair and just. Miss Shirley says, all three of my clients love me and I treat them with dignity and respect. Absolutely. Absolutely. That should be the norm. Again, you cannot or you should not be angry when someone is selective towards you, but you turn right around and exude the same thing. But again, if you have, and I'm not saying you do, it's just me speaking out loud, influencers that could cloud your judgment. Maybe, maybe not. But again, to me, communication with that individual without a middleman will clear up anything. You still may leave that communication feeling the exact same way, but at least you are clear and the other person is clear. And there won't be any confusion, at least as far as that situation is concerned. Some people love confusion. And where I come from, confusion and chaos is not of the creator. And you're always, like I said, going to run into some negativity. That's something that you cannot avoid. That's part of life. You don't have to feed into it. You don't have to allow it to grow. You have to cut off the food and water source, and eventually it'll disappear. But there are others that don't think that. They think the opposite. And what they may think they're doing for the good is actually destruction. Unfortunately, and my gift of discernment is extremely strong. You cannot have a gift of discernment and a cloud of chaos and confusion follow every day. That's just my opinion. Again, we all have those seasons, but no, you can't convince me of that. I'm sorry. And that is not, again, to offend anyone. It's just an observation. And I've been on this earth for 53 years now and around a myriad of different people, from those who sleep on the streets to those in mansions. We all bleed the same. And we all intertwine in certain ways. So think about others and how you treat them, especially when you know you're being treated a certain way and you've done nothing but good. Enjoy the rest of your morning. Good night, Miss Shirley. Absolutely. Communication is key. Be safe, be well, and you know the rest. Be healthy.